Beyond. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode 379. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside he only knows everything, Colin Moriarty.
It's good to see you, Greg. It's been a while.
Good to see you. God, I just miss you. I'm glad we get to come together for this show.
I know. It's like I'll never see you if we don't do this together.
I know. Over here.
Hi.
In Marty Sleeva's never-rotating third chair, none other than the Reverend Jared Petty.
Happy to fill in today. Thanks for having me, Greg.
No problem, Jared. I'm happy to have you. Marty's off interviewing top men. I'm not sure what his new... I'm not sure the embargoes anymore on what he's talking about. I know where he's at.
Yep.
It's a big deal who he's talking to.
Pretty cool.
Where you at? Where you at, Marty? Remember those Where You At commercials? With Fat Joe? And the beep thing?
I do.
You remember Fat Joe? You remember Fat Joe?
No, I don't remember Fat Joe. I don't know Fat Joe. Who's Fat Joe?
He was a rapper. What's love?
No, I'm not ignorant.
No, it was him. But you know from the gate I don't go that way. I wanna. This is Podcast Beyond.
No memories here. Nothing good.
Really? That's hard to believe. How you been, Jared? Haven't seen you in a while.
I haven't seen you in a while either. I've been all right. Things are slowly but surely getting better. So yay.
Good.
I'm happy to be back at work. We're trying to whip together some Resident Evil content right now.
Resident Evil.
Just finished the Rocket run through. Haven't done that in a very long time.
Oh, wow, yeah.
With any of the trying to get to the you finish Resident Evil in a quick enough amount of time, unlock neat things. So going back and fooling with that again, you forget. It's really. I'm kind of working on an editorial about this right now, but playing old games is sort of like going into a time machine.
Yeah.
It's sort of like reading old books. It puts you in the mindset of a different age. And that game has aged well in many ways. I mean, there are anachronisms that are frustrating, but it is just, honestly, it reminds me a lot of Dark Souls. Scarce resources, scarce ability to save, long distances where you're constantly balancing risk and reward.
Sure,
Every bullet counts. And that art of game design is almost lost. So going back and just diving into that again, man, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and losing those tank controls is nice too.
Yeah.
We, on our other thing, we were streaming Resident Evil and
Resident Evil,
remake, remastered or whatever. And I agree with you. I really liked the remake. I really loved the original one on PS1, and Director's Cut was good. But we were playing it, and I was struck by how much I'd forgotten. Like we were fooling around. Like the people in the comments were telling us what to do. Basically, I'm like, I really don't remember what I'm supposed to actually do. Like, you remember, the moments of that game and, the dogs jumping through the window.
Sure, you remember those moments that stick with you, the scariest things.
Why do I have these medals inside the books again? Where am I putting those?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the old penny key thing? I found the rooster key, and well, great, when I find the chicken door, I'll tell you. It's all these nonsensical puzzles that came in from old text adventure games, which Resident Evil steals a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
adventure games.
It's funny you say that, Jared. I mean, you understand the anatomy and the genetics of games, I think, better than almost anyone I've met. And
wow,
that's one of the things that I was really thinking about when I was playing this, is that as a kid playing Resident Evil, and then as a teenager, in college, where we're playing Remake on GameCube, I didn't appreciate having not grown up with the PC background. I had a computer, but I didn't play games on it or whatever, really, except for a little bit on Apple or whatever. That Resident Evil is an adventure game.
Yeah.
And not until I played Remake these last few days did I really come to appreciate this is an adventure game.
Yeah, it's
just how this symbol interacts with this door.
Exactly,
kind of thing?
There's just a shit ton of puzzles in the game.
Yeah,
that,
it's Zork. It's Zork. There's a lot of nonsense puzzles. There's a lot of exploration, atmosphere, and backtracking and finding items. There's a few very dangerous enemies. There's not a lot of enemies, but they can kill you really quick, which is a hallmark of a lot of adventure games. Yeah, it's which is funny because this has been old games. I mean, Grim Fandango, classic adventure game, also comes out this week. The two games are much more similar than you'd think, both in design philosophy. They're contemporary, 96, 98, very close together, and you find a lot of similarities between those two. I cannot wait to play Grim Fandango on Vita, but I'm sure that's coming up here in a minute.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little while. And by the way, I was just I was telling Greg yesterday, I was browsing the trophies for Grim Fandango, and one of them I'm gonna bring it up.
Yeah, you want to read it verbatim?
This is a really great trophy.
What are these trophies you speak of? I'm sorry.
Get the hell off this podcast. You never come back.
So first of all, Grim Fandango has a platinum, which I know a lot of people would be excited about. That doesn't surprise me since Sony themselves.
How long is Grim Fandango?
I have no idea.
Grim Fandango's long. It's each of the 4 years takes quite a while to complete. I mean, so asking how long an adventure game is hard. If you know the solution to all the puzzles, it's not that long. If
For me, this is gonna be a 50-hour campaign.
It can take a long time to finish. I mean, I think that somebody is going to spend at least 10 hours on Grim Fandango, and if you're not using a guide at all, you could spend significantly longer.
Okay.
That's my estimate. However, it's been a long time.
Sure.
So the trophy I'm talking about, there's a gold trophy in the game. I think it is it's only one of 2 gold trophies in the game. And it is entitled The Right Way. And it says, play the whole game with tank controls. Tim demanded this trophy.
Oh, that's
such a great trophy.
That's the description.
That's such a great description.
That's a description for it.
They're funny. I
love that. That's good.
Now I'm gonna play Grim Fandango this week or next week for sure, but I'm not even gonna play around with it in the sense that like I'm bad at adventure and puzzle games, and so I'm gonna use a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Like I don't enjoy playing games like I really don't enjoy games that are puzzle heavy. Even like Resident Evil kind of pushes a little bit, the first one especially, but where it's like it's fine. You find the key, you open this door, you have to put this thing in the back of a statue, or that's totally fine. But like where everything is like solving those kinds of puzzles, I'm like, I'm not playing this. When I played Sam and Max or Back to the Future, like some Telltale games, I just use walkthroughs. I'm like, I just find this much more enjoyable, just to like get me to the story. Messing around with this friggin' skeleton man in this game is not gonna really.
That was always the turnoff for me with adventure games, just that running your head in. I know so many people love it, you know what I mean? That over and over and over, and then finally, wait a second, that aha moment they live for.
It clicks.
But especially as I've gotten older, like even today with Dying Light, like I felt like the instructions at the end of the tutorial on where to talk to this guy weren't that great, and I was streaming it, and I went on a diatribe, just like, this is one of the things I can't stand. I have such a limited amount of time to play games to get to a point like this where it's like, wait, what? Like that's a problem.
Well, this is one of the reasons adventure games they died for a while. I mean, they died for several reasons. Okay, you can't put your finger on one. You know, some people say it was missed. Well, that was a small part of it. A lot of it was that the elements of adventure games got co-opted into other kinds of games. And again, I'm stealing a lot of this from the really smart people at Retronauts who talked about this a few years ago. But another reason that adventure games kind of faded out was they just got so abstruse and esoteric that it was almost like you were trying to psychologically profile the guy who made the game. Instead of solve the puzzle, you're like, what would he want you to do? And those kinds of bad instructions, a lot of that happened in adventure games. There's the famous Gabriel Knight 3 puzzle. Have you ever heard about this? Oh, I mean, this is where the shark was very well jumped. But if I remember this correctly, and it has been a long time. So you had this, you had to get into a club, and you stole a fake ID. And you didn't look anything like the guy on the fake ID. So first you had to take a marker and draw a mustache on the fake ID, and then you had to make yourself a mustache out of, I believe, cat hair and syrup. Put that on your face and then get into the club. But they expected you to figure out that you were supposed to steal an ID and draw a mustache on it and make it. It wasn't making yourself look like the guy. That might make sense. It was change the guy's appearance, and then make yourself look like it. And just people were just like, are you kidding me? And, you know, a lot of that kind of crap came along later on.
Well, even on Broken Age, like, I petered out on Broken Age even, which I know everybody loves, but it was, like, the girl storyline in the very beginning. Like, I'm biting the bullet. I love Double Fine's recent stuff, Costume Quest, this, you know, blah, blah. And I loved him, obviously. I want to play through this game. And I'm playing it in, like, I started with the girls campaign, and then you get to the point, you've played it, right?
Yeah.
Where the grandpa needs a knife or some shit.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm walking, like,
I'm walking back.
And I'm exactly, and I'm interacting with the cupcakes and this and that and this, and I asked the grandpa the question, but then there's like a follow-up question you have to ask, and like finally it just broke me, and I was like, this. I went and played the Elijah Wood storyline, and I enjoyed that a lot, and then I came back and I think I looked it up, and I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, and like that just sucks the fun out of it, because then I feel stupid, which I am obviously, but
no, you're not stupid. But a lot of these games are getting people are building hint systems into them now. That helps. Progressive hint systems, like you found, it's like I think it was the Monkey Island remake where you saw that. That's helping. There's good guides and facts. You know, the internet has really made adventure games a lot easier. Miranda Sanchez here at IGN is writing the guide for Grim Fandango. So for when you get stuck, because that doesn't have a hint system built in. I was surprised. I thought that'd be part of the remaster, but apparently it's not. It's already out, right? I can say that now.
The embargo,
by the time this posts, I can say that. Okay, I want to make sure. There's there's no hint system in it, but there's guides out there. But yeah, I mean, your frustration there is very valid. I fool around with making these things. That's part of how I got my job here, was writing a IGN text adventure game a couple of years ago that I put on the internet that helped me win that trip to E3 that helped me meet you guys. But I'm still playing around with them. I'm actually writing one right now called Laser Dracula.
Sounds awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward. Laser Dracula may never see the light of day, but hopefully...
No, you have to. Now you've committed it to the public record.
Laser Dracula.
Everyone wants Laser Dracula.
So Laser Dracula is.
Ladies and gentlemen, start making
game,
box art for his game and send it to him.
I have the first line.
Tom
of
and Jared.
The first line
Twitter.
is, "You are standing outside the castle of Laser Dracula." So
excellent.
That's what we're going to
do. That's like 90% of the game right there. You're done.
So yeah.
Is it going to be inspired by Simon's Quest?
It will
perhaps?
be informed by Castlevania. Absolutely.
Will this be a Vita exclusive?
No, this is a text adventure game, so it's probably going to be a PC and iPad thing.
That sucks.
That's a bummer.
You suck.
Well, I mean, a text parser would be a little bit hard to do on Vita. I guess
but it's so easy to do on the iPad. Another touch-enabled device.
I see your point.
You don't like trophies and you don't like Vita.
Okay. No. Now I will fight you about Vita. I love me some Vita. I love the Vitas.
Who doesn't?
Not enough to make a baby
I
with
love
it, though, huh?
the Vitas. Okay, so I'll tell you what. Maybe if they'll send me over an
They got
SDK, I
that.
can
They
figure
got
it
that pub fund. I'm gonna get you hooked up.
Well, this is the big thing that I've been
Building
wondering.
hashtag building the list.
This is the big thing I'm wondering with building the list, and also with third-party relations kind of taking games on themselves. Obviously, Grim Fandango is a Sony. It's not a Sony property, but the remaster is a Sony product. That was paid for by Sony, and so it's on PS4, PS3, Vita, and it's also going to be on PC.
Same deal with Day of the Tentacle, right?
All right, yeah, and they're doing that, and I'm wondering what is going to be like what some and they did with Borderlands too for Vita.
Yep.
So I wonder like what games they're going to identify next. That
Ghost House.
Ghost House.
Oh, wait, Ghost House for the Sega Master System.
It's time.
Okay,
It's time.
I kind of like Ghost House. Ghost House is actually.
I kind of like
yeah,
you.
I kind
You're
of like
kind
Ghost
of
House.
funny.
You guys see what you did there with the double entendre?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. But yeah, okay. So Ghost House, which I don't think is actually an adventure game though.
No. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you meant it was an
No,
adventure.
I don't mean
I just
adventure
love
games.
it.
I just
Oh,
mean,
you don't mean adventure games.
Well, because
I'm sorry.
Borderlands 2 was done by
I'm
third-party
just
relations.
stuck on
Borderlands 2 is
adventure
pretty
games
adventure
largely. But
game.
yes, Ghost House. Let's just have that. That's fine.
Okay,
I mean, we
fine.
can talk about Ghost House.
I'm thinking it's going to be, I don't know.
The next big thing to come. The next third-party relation game. that
Yeah,
comes
like
out?
what game they're going to identify. I don't know.
For Vita, like a cross-buy is what you're thinking?
Well, probably PS4 and Vita.
I mean, Psychonauts would be an easy one.
Yeah, no, I want to get away from the Double Fine stuff though. Like
I know,
like,
but they're already in bed with Tim. They're just getting it on.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't anything wrong with
Making
Double Fine, of
games.
course.
Can we
Double Fine's
just have
fantastic.
while we're on that? Can we have Maniac Mansion? Yeah, please.
I mean, that's what I'm like. Maniac Mansion would be great. My only experience with Maniac Mansion is that NES version, which apparently, no.
I'm
no.
sorry. That is unfortunate, sir.
But no, I want them to get away from that kind of stuff. I want them to identify something else random. I think that if you asked after Borderlands 2, what's your next game going to be, I don't think anyone in this world would have guessed Grim Fandango. So
Right,
I want them to be.
Okay.
I want them to figure out what's going to be next. Obviously, Day of the Tentacle is coming too.
What would you dream of? I mean, if you could make it happen, Colin.
Infamous.
No.
Infamous 1 and 2. Just
No.
Infamous 1.
No,
Vita.
not Infamous. Not
Symphony of the Night,
Oh, yeah.
put in widescreen.
Yeah, can we have Rondo on the same
Sure.
pack then?
That,
you
just
ma-
like that PSP game.
Yeah,
Dracula X Chronicles.
except good though, because
Yeah.
that PSP game was only kind of so-so.
Yeah,
so the
I
Rondo
agree.
version
I
was
just
good.
played it so I can unlock Symphony of the Night,
Yeah,
basically.
The Rondo remake wasn't very good, and the original version's porting was a little off for emulation or whatever they did. I don't know if that was a port or an emulation that they did that you unlocked of Rondo. Do you remember?
No, it was no, that was an emulation, I think, because
Okay.
Symphony was an emulation too.
Okay.
And then and there was the whole
It's
remake. in
all
there.
right, but the Virtual Console version's not bad. It's a little blurry, but I used to have a PC Engine with a CD, and there still hasn't been an emulated version of the game that captures the fidelity and glory of Dracula X. That game is rockin'. That soundtrack is superb, and it's a great traditional platformer. I'm just chatty today. I'm sorry.
That's
We
what
haven't
the
got
conversational
intro.
podcast known as Podcast
Okay,
Beyond
that
is all
works, yeah.
about.
Yeah,
If you
you
didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, this is Podcast Beyond, IGN's PlayStation podcast, the #1 PlayStation podcast on the internet.
Oh God, my speakers are on.
Yeah, I thought we got a new intro thing for my little thing there. If you like the show, remember it posts each and every Tuesday as an MP3 and a video on IGN.com, YouTube.com/IGN podcast services around the world, and of course, the completely free IGN PlayStation 4 app. Colin,
Yes.
let's begin the show with what is, and forever will be, the Roper Report. Time for some news.
Now I want to be very candid here
Uh-oh.
about something
Whoa.
before we even talk about the Roper Report. We say with the Roper Report what is and forever will be the Roper Report.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But is that really true now? Because
Who the fuck knows? There's no one knows anymore. There are no guarantees. We've talked about it on this show. If you came out of your coma, ladies and gentlemen, Colin and I no longer work for IGN. I've been here since episode 1. Our
You're
time,
not even really here. You're just a holographic
the
projection
sand in
at
our
this point.
hourglass is
Yeah.
falling. We don't know how much longer we have. It's not long. We kind of know.
I just assume that the segments that we've created will come with us.
Marty's going to come in with a little TNT package and blow it up and make the show his own.
So Roper Report won't forever be.
but for us, we're going to say forever will
Okay.
be Roper Report.
I just
It
thought
will
about
live.
that.
It will live on in my heart.
This ain't you know how we're a conversational show. We'll just jump to the heart of the matter right now. Jordan wrote in to beyond.ign.com just like you can and says Beyond.
Beyond.
June marks the time of Beyond 400. Have you guys considered what you'll be doing to celebrate this momentous occasion? I want to come to San Francisco for this, but would like to book my plane tickets as early so I get a fair price. Will Greg and Colin be there? I would also cherish the opportunity to finally meet them after being a listener for about 5 years. I would love to be in the know about this. Thanks, and Beyond, Jordan. Jordan. Colin and Greg no longer work for IGN. We have no idea what's happening with Beyond 400. Yeah, we don't know. Colin and Greg are planning a live event in San Francisco in April. Follow us on Twitter at NoTaxation and Game Over Greggy to hear all about that.
Yeah.
I will sit at this corner of the room and look ignorant and uncomfortable. Because I have no idea.
No,
Yeah,
you don't have to look ignorant or uncomfortable.
I have no
Okay,
idea. No, I
great.
don't
Yeah.
know what's playing.
No, I am. If I was IGN, yes, there'd be a Beyond 400 event. However, is IGN going to take time off after we leave the show to rebuild it? Are they going to blow it up and renumber? I don't know. There's a million things that could happen. You've just got to strap in, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm guessing the strategy is androids. I think
androids?
Just going to duplicate you guys.
Oh no! Is that why Pear put that thing on my head and said, think about everything in your life?
Think
no!
Hard. Exactly. You're being replaced by a ROM construct. We're going Neuromancer here. It'll be like McCoy Polly and Neuromancer. If you ever read kids, great book. Coin the term cyberspace. Read it. Wonderful.
How do you
stuff.
balance everything you do? You play all these games. You read all these books. You watch all these movies. How do you do it?
Lately, I haven't done a lot. My life's been turned on its ear, but I don't balance it. I just sort of dive in, and I try not to waste time. I read on the bus, for example. I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to do my phone on the bus. I'm just going to read. Or, again, in the can, same thing.
Sure.
Sitting on the toilet, there's a book in my lap. Try to squeeze those things in and do that. But no, I never get as much done as I want to. The key is I never finish anything. That's the real deal.
Yeah.
That's how it is. I just start everything. I can't remember the last time I finished a video game that wasn't for work.
Yeah.
I start a lot of them, very rarely finish them.
Yeah, that was a big thing for when I was reviewing. The big thing. I picked the games I wanted to play because I knew if I was reviewing them, then I had to beat them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, I think you guys, work harder than I do. You were doing 2 jobs forever. Now you're launching a business. I mean, I work hard here, certainly, but I spend like 2 hours a day commuting right there. Think about the amount of time that grants me.
My Vita gameplay has fallen off.
Yeah.
Significantly since
Has
I just roll out of bed now and walk down to the studio.
Okay. Well,
right.
yeah. Which is what, 10 feet down the hall?
Yeah, if you're lucky.
About
Something
that,
like
I can cartwheel it in probably 30
if you're
per hour.
lucky.
I'd like to see you cartwheeling sometime.
Yeah, no problem. That's a
You
video I can
cartwheel?
do for you. No, but I can do it for you.
He's lost all sorts of weight, so he should be able to do it.
I don't think cartwheeling. Chris Farley did cartwheels all the time.
I've been gaining.
He's a god to the team fat brethren.
I've been stress eating lately. I'm getting kind of bloated again. I gotta fight.
Yeah, you lost a lot.
I had. I haven't gained nearly all of it back.
I know you have a job here, so you can't watch all the content we produce outside of here.
Yeah.
But there was on one of the shows we do daily, we brought up the World 1-1 documentary trailer, and we're watching it with the kids we were streaming to. And I was like, holy crap, Jared did lose a lot of weight because you had said that, but it's like when I was seeing you every day, it's how that's like it's hard to tell.
Well, I've gained a little bit back, as you can tell now, so I'm hoping I can fight it back off. And I guess
you will.
Just
You can do it.
eating badly. But yeah, it really is just like there's the time right now, time to cook.
No,
out the window.
You got yeah.
So we'll work on that later on. But there I am whining. So
Some might say there are too many cooks.
In the kitchen.
Too many cooks.
So you bring up World War I, and it's worth me to just pimp that out real quick. We pimped it out on our other show, but for those of you out there that are curious, Jared and I appeared in a documentary about gaming history called World 1-1.
Alongside Per Schneider and old Sam Claiborne.
Yep, and a bunch of OG Atari developers. It's basically about the history of gaming up until I would say the crash, like 82, 83. Hopefully they'll do another one that will appear in as well. Hopefully, I narrated as well. I'm talking head. Jared's in it pretty extensively. You can find out more about it at world11movie.com. That's world-one-movie.com. Go support them. Our friends Daryl and Jeanette made this documentary for $15,000 off a Kickstarter, and you can go buy or rent the movie through them or whatever, and it's really great. And you guys should go check it out. I'm really proud of the work that they did.
Gave up months of their life on this labor of love, and really just you can feel the love coming out of the celluloid. Oh, it's not celluloid anymore. Whatever it is, whatever they make movies on now, out of the bits. The love comes out of the screen, and there really is. If you enjoy a nice meaty account of how things started out and a lot of first-person anecdotal storytelling, I think you'll like it. I really did.
Yeah, you'll dig it. Go check it out. Please go check it out.
I was glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, me too. Very honored.
So it is and never will be the report.
All right, so item number 1. This one is according to NeoGaf poster Roasty, who found a trademark, Greg, for a new Resistance game. Perhaps. Roasty wrote on NeoGaf today on January 26, 2015, Sony Computer Entertainment Europe Limited filed in Europe a trademark application for Resistance. It is a basic community trademark filing for computer game software, toys, games, and playthings, and electronic game, blah, blah, blah. If you look at the trademark information itself, it says Resistance is the name. The nature of it is individual. The classifications are 9, 28, and 41, which is computer games, toys, games, and playthings, and electronics games, as said earlier. The owner is Sony Computer Entertainment Europe Limited. The country of origin is the United Kingdom. So there's a lot of speculation about what this could possibly be.
Paul in the UK writes into beyond at ign.com just like you can. It says, Beyond, what's up, guys? I love the podcast. It's the best things ever. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on the latest Resistance trademark. I would love a new Resistance game. The second and the third game in particular were awesome.
Agreed.
Colin.
Yes.
Paul's already set to pre-order. Is that what's happening? Is there a new Resistance coming? What do we do?
I don't think so. So, the writer on NeoGAF further states the original trademark for Resistance Fall of Man was registered in Europe on October 9, 2007. So that was right before it launched. Oh no, that can't be right. The original trademark for Resistance Fall of Man was registered on that's a year after the game launched.
Whole article's
Misfiled
BS.
paperwork.
And will expire on March 8th next year. That filing has seen no changes as far as I can tell. For U.S. serial number blah 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 Resistance Fall of Man, a combined declaration of use and incontestability, filed in July last year. Resistance has not seen any events since 2010. No new filings of Resistance have been made public by the USPTO as the time of writing. I think that this is them just protecting the trademark.
Just time to re-up.
Yeah, I think that I mean I've said before on our other shows or whatever that I think we'll see Resistance again. I don't think that it'll be anytime soon. I don't think Insomniac will do it, and I think it'll be a reboot of the original game because the original game's really got a great story. It's just a very dismal and dark game.
And game companies trademark things constantly. Wasn't there a trademark a few years ago for like something called didn't Square trademark like the word Chrono Break or something like that, and then nothing.
Good memory.
Happened,
Just to screw with you.
Very good memory. You knew it was going to be an iOS game anyway, so who gives a So just a little bit of news about that. If we move on to the next item, let's see what the next item is going to be. The Witcher. I played The Witcher. You were gone, but I played it last week.
How was it?
It was great.
Yes.
And from what I played, I played it for a little over an hour. But Jenna Pitcher wrote a story about The Witcher 3 dev on making a stand against paid DLC. And the story reads in part, CD Projekt co-founder and joint CEO Marcin Iwinski tells IGN that the developer is releasing 16 free The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt downloadable post-launch content packs to make a statement against quote-unquote steeply priced, end quote, paid DLC economy. Quote, because people just paid full price for our game, we owe them, said Iwinski. In part, and he went on to say, quote, yeah, we are making a statement. We as gamers would like to be treated this way. Hey, give me free DLC. It doesn't have to be something huge. And I'm saying we weren't giving out huge stuff. We aren't giving out tens of hours of storyline here. We are giving small bits of pieces that don't cost a lot. And I think people would feel better about our game, and so they will enjoy the adventure even more.
That there is messaging, and I welcome it. Whether it be a PR stunt or the purity of his heart, either way, it's exactly what a fan of a game like Witcher 3 wants to hear, and I think it's a good idea. Yeah,
CD Projekt Red has been working on this game for a long time. They've made only the Witcher games, and I think they're actually working on other games now too, but none of them have come out. They are a fan favorite developer.
Yep.
And so I think that they're somewhat preaching to the choir because people are going to buy their game anyway, but it engenders a good spirit of compatibility between the person selling the game and the person buying the game, which I think is nice.
And all of their competition that comes out. And we have DLC coming, it's paid. Well, why are you doing that?
They're
Which
creating a difference between themselves and other forces in the marketplace that people feel frustrated with. Not unlike Sony did during the PS4 launch when they sold themselves as the gamer's console, the game's focused console, etc. And that message resonated very well. You can rarely go wrong with that as long as you stick to your guns. I'm very happy to hear about it. You're right. Witcher is a fan favorite game anyway. I think they want to expand beyond that fan base. Yeah. And that's a company that's not afraid to do amazing things for their games. I without spoiling it, I mean, one of the endings of Witcher 2, the one that I got, is still one of my favorite moments in a video game ever. One of the bravest decisions I've ever seen.
To the future?
No,
And you're in Resistance?
I'm
you come out in Times Square.
Can we do spoiler alerts on Beyond? Or probably
I mean, honestly, yeah, you can totally. We're doing a spoiler alert for The Witcher 2 right now, which I'm sure you were all about to beat.
Okay, Witcher 2, spoiler alert right here. One of the endings is this dude you've been chasing since the very beginning of the game. You've been chasing this guy. It drives the whole plot along. The plot has lots of different tendrils and threads. You can go lots of different ways, and you chase the dude and chase the dude, and as it goes on, you learn more and more about him and why he did the horrible things he did, and you kind of get wrapped up in the same thing he got caught up in. You both end up against the same forces and then still chasing him. You finally catch up with this guy, and he has made your life just awful. But you finally find him after this big war and all this stuff that's happened, and by the time you catch up with him, the game gives you an opportunity in a long conversation you have with him in an empty town square at the final boss battle. You start a conversation, and if you talk your way through it right, you look at him, and it gives you the chance, and you shake his hand, take a drink of vodka together, and walk away, and there's no final boss battle.
That's
until
awesome.
you realize you have nothing left to fight over. Now, you can have the big climactic final battle if you want, but they give you a chance to take the final boss of the game and just be like, nah, we have nothing left to hate each other over. Well, this is
That's
stupid.
cool.
We
Yeah,
were
it's
both
cool.
used. And you walk. just brilliant. It's even better than the Fallout ending where you get the guy to kill himself. It's just so good.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because you know more about this. CD Projekt Red is a Polish developer.
Yeah.
The Witcher is a Polish book series,
Yeah,
right?
it's a multimedia franchise. It's a TV series. It's a book series.
So is this kind of like Game of Thrones in terms of I mean, obviously not as big, but I mean, is this something that like
it's
really
huge in that part of the world?
Right.
It is a big deal, and it's kind of neat fantasy epic. I think Game of Thrones is actually a pretty superb comparison. They're neat stories. It started with short stories. It's moved out into all kinds of things. Mitch is the Office's biggest fan of this stuff, but I have looked at some of the material, and it's kind of cool. Lots of swords and blood and big monsters and people taking their clothes off and stuff like that.
So just high fantasy.
Lowbrow high fantasy.
Cool. That's a good way to put it.
You're about to jump into another news story. Before you do it, can you please right-click on the KFC just hit hot dogs to a whole new level story on IGN?
I saw this picture.
I gotta know what's happening with this hot dog.
It's the hot dog it's the double down.
Jesus Christ!
But it's a hot dog.
Yeah.
So it's a chicken breast with
that's curved around
with a hot dog in it.
And then I think that's mayonnaise on top, isn't it?
Jesus, that's right up your alley, Colin.
So
why is this? I don't understand why this is on IGN though.
I watched
because the Black Burger video did so well.
Chris Abbott, IGN's community manager. I watched a Double Down once make him physically ill. Just eating a regular Double Down at a restaurant.
What, did his heart seize?
No, he ate the thing and he just changed color. He turned gray. He was sitting there trying to consume this. And Chris can eat almost anything that doesn't eat him first. He's not a sensitive stomach.
Jesus Christ!
This is what it actually looks like when you buy it.
That's pretty gross, actually.
That's an
I'm not even going to say what that looks like.
That's like something that came out of the womb of Cthulhu. That's
nice.
Sure. Yeah. That should not live on this earth.
Moore's about to go.
I was surprised to see that. On the site. That's an interesting story. I saw the picture of that today on Twitter.
I missed it.
I never thought.
I'm behind on my KFC Double Down hot dog news.
What's the weirdest thing you ever ate, Greg?
Weirdest thing I ever ate?
Yeah. You ever eat anything really weird?
Probably.
Remember it?
No.
Nah. Colin, you eat anything weird?
No, I'm pretty averse to eating weird things.
No, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I wondered.
You eat weird stuff.
I eat a lot of weird stuff. Yeah, so I ate a couple of live like giant shrimp once.
Oh yeah, you're talking about that dancer. I forgot the word.
Yeah, but there's some stuff I won't eat. Like I can't eat. Well, I've eaten bugs. I'm not going to do it again. I've eaten grasshoppers and I've eaten like larvae and things like that. And I don't like it. A lot of people legitimately seem to enjoy it. I can't.
Not you though.
Yeah, and somebody offered me a scorpion once. I couldn't do that. I am freaked out by scorpions. There's no way.
So. Okay. Are we ready to move on?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Thank you for rolling with the punches.
Gonna derail this.
Borderlands 3 has kind of been announced.
Yay!
Our friend Vince wrote, Gearbox is going to have something to say about the next full title in the Borderlands franchise at their Borderlands panel this Sunday at PAX South. Wait, why is this? Oh, this is the wrong story I clicked on here. Basically, so I'm just going to basically tell everyone what happened. PAX South in San Antonio, Gearbox had a Borderlands panel. It was very extensively. It was like in a huge theater, similar to the theater in San Diego or New York Comic-Con, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And packed house, and basically Randy Pitchford said that they are not actively working on Borderlands 3, but they want to work on it, they want to make it, and they are looking to hire talent specifically to start making Borderlands 3. And then they released pictures of like silhouettes of people saying like this could be you, this could be you.
Yeah, it was the Borderlands cast, of characters, and then a bunch of silhouettes saying this could be you, this could be you.
So it's not a big surprise, the Handsome Collection's coming out soon for PS4, Xbox One, PC. Pre-sequel just came out, so. It's not.
It's a nice touch of, hey, this game is not anywhere near ready, but we are working on it, and we want cool people to come work on it with us. Especially in an industry where it seems like you hear about staffing changes only in the negative, right?
Yeah, so you're like, hey, video games, fun, come work on it, be part of it, make it up. I'm good with that.
So that's exciting. Battlefield Hardline news. This story is by Jenna Pitcher as well. It says Battlefield Hardline maps and modes outlined. Story reads in part, Electronic Arts and Visceral Games have taken to the Battlefield website to further detail all of the Battlefield Hardline maps and modes. The upcoming first-person shooter will launch with 9 maps, including Downtown, a map based in the heart of downtown LA, shut down by the police. Bank Job is a map where criminals are plotting a ruthless assault on a high-security bank vault. This sounds just like a payday.
Yeah,
it is.
And the block is home to the notorious criminal ring fronting as a liquor store and bail bonds office. Yeah. Dust Bowl is a small desert town of Jode, well known for meth trafficking problems, while Derailed is set in the industrial LA of warehouses and scrapyards. Players can battle in high-tech and expensive island crib consisting of small islands interconnected by bridges and waterways and riptide.
So this entire game takes place in Los Santos.
Basically, EA revealed a new mode this week to join the previously announced game modes of Heist, Rescue, Hotwire mode, and Blood Money. Crosshair involves 2 teams of 5. Spawning opposite of each other on a map, teams must attempt to wipe out the other team as quickly as possible within a 3-minute period, while a player-controlled VIP has to be extracted at one of 2 designated points. The game sounds cool. I just and it sounds dynamic, and it's different for Battlefield, which I appreciate. Very different. Yeah. At the same time, this is a lot of this sounds like what Payday was doing 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
So,
you wonder if, with a bigger budget than what Payday got, and the visceral behind it, if it'll be something different, it'll be something cool. But every time we've watched or seen something, it's like, oh, neat, but it's not like I'm compelled to play it. Now, granted, I'm not Mr. Multiplayer though, so.
Yeah, it's one of those. Hey, wait for the review, kids. Yeah. If it's a good review, run out and buy it.
Oh, you should absolutely wait for the review of any Battlefield game.
Probably wait not even for the review as much as the day one impressions from.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
There'll be a review event where everything's perfect, and then it's going to go out in the wild, and then we'll see how the servers actually go.
Dare say we wait for the review on every game?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't understand the whole pre-order culture, but especially with Battlefield, considering Battlefield 4 was completely broken and a completely disgraceful state for a while for a lot of people. I wouldn't mess around. I wouldn't trifle with that at all.
So if you had, it did the Megalodon, make up for weeks of broken game?
Wait, what?
No, it did not.
No, there's
you remember this
giant shark? No.
There was a giant shark out in the water of this in Battlefield 4, where if you waited or whatever, you got to in a certain spot.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Megalodon,
I didn't play Battlefield 4.
Wait, no, nobody played this part. We just saw it on the internet.
Amazing, crazy people on the internet figured out how to make it trigger. That's a dedicated bunch of folks. I have a lot of respect for people who like.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's crazy.
This next story is about Bloodborne, also by Jenna, who's writing every story on IGN apparently.
She killing it.
2 limited edition Bloodborne PS4 consoles coming to Japan. Sony is releasing 2 limited edition Bloodborne PlayStation 4 systems in Japan in March, according to Jenna's story.
Do they seep blood?
No, they don't. In fact, they're wildly unimpressive.
You're gross.
Featuring an engraving of the game's title and protagonist on the hard drive cover. Listed on Japan's Sony store.
Does the protagonist have a name?
In Bloodborne?
Bloodborne dude?
I don't think so.
Just Bloodborne dude? All right.
Yeah,
because you're just gonna be like, it's an avatar basically, I think. Listed on Japan's Sony store,
Lance.
The 2 black and white variants are priced at 47,480 yen, so it's $400. With a March 26 launch date to coincide with the game's rollout in the region, the consoles come packed with the Bloodborne Collector's Edition, a controller, and a headset. So this makes a lot of sense. People can go on IGN and look at the pictures of the Bloodborne console. It's basically just the Bloodborne logo with the guy with the sword and the shotgun standing, like the shot we've seen many times.
That would be Lance. Lance.
Yeah.
We've agreed his name is Lance.
The titular, who's I guess not titular protagonist, but unless the game is called The Lanceborn. But it's called Bloodborne, Greg. Anyway, there's a black console, there's a white console. This is nice for Japan because I think this is a game that will sell some PS4s, and PS4 is selling dismally in Japan. But this is a super unimpressive. You're not going to want to import kind of thing. You can just draw this on your console.
Plate. Yeah, that's just a faceplate. You can get your faceplates engraved if you really wanted to. Probably cheaper than going that way.
Moving on. Quick news about Dragon Ball Xenoverse, which a lot of people are really excited about. In fact, Battle of Z was one of the best-selling games, I think, on PS3 and Vita last year.
Battle of Z?
On
Is
PSN.
it Battle of Z in Britain?
Probably.
I wondered.
This story is by Lauren Puga at IGN. It says, new details about Dragon Ball Xenoverse, including the number of characters, skills, and pieces of equipment, have leaked via online listings for the game's guidebook. According to Amazon Japan listing, discovered by Shonen Game Z, that the upcoming fighter will feature at least 47 playable characters. The guidebook's description also reveals the game will have 12 master quests, 50 parallel quests, 200 skill options, and 400 different pieces of equipment. So it looks like that's going to be a meaty game. I saw that at TGS in Japan in September. The game looks interesting. I'm just not a Dragon Ball fan, so I don't know.
Sure, yeah. If you're not in that franchise, you're not in the franchise.
Let's talk about Destiny real quick. This story by Michael Martin at IGN says, Destiny developer says, quote, unquote, mistakes will not be replicated, unquote. And then the subhead just says, no official announcements.
Did they admit to what those mistakes were so that we would know what they're correcting?
Well, let's unpack it. The story reads in part, Bungie has plans to take a different approach to Destiny's loot reward system in the upcoming House of Wolves expansion. Destiny developer Luke Smith says the studio will, quote, will not repeat, quote, mistakes we made with the DLC 1, the Dark Below reward economy, end quote, on NeoGAF. In response to comments about House of Wolves' potential reward system. The studio has nothing official to announce, but Smith did list the Vault of Glass vendor gear and validating raid gear, resetting exotic talents through upgrading and the shard economy as mistakes the studio made. Quote, our philosophy about rewards loot continues to evolve as we see how players play and react, Smith said. So
I don't know. I hope so. It seemed like since this thing first launched, since Destiny itself first launched, it's just been, no, really, guys, this time we mean it. It's going to be right this time. No, not this time, really, we mean it.
Hey, they're learning
I've
as
heard
they
this
go.
like 4 times. I don't know, man. I got to be.
The fact of the matter is, there's people who are diehard Destiny players.
There
who
are
can't
a
stop.
lot of diehard Destiny players.
Alfredo,
Yeah.
Destin. There's all these people.
Okay, so Fredo's sane. I worry about the other two.
Oh,
But,
yeah. Fran is not sane in any way, shape, or form.
So I'm not sure those are the examples you want to pull out of your
I'm just saying that I still stand by that Bungie's cool for like addressing the fact that, hey, we effed this up. We're trying to fix it.
I appreciate that as well. I just want to see what they come out with.
Give me a pound then, but
Right.
there it is, pound it out.
I'm just a grumpy old guy.
I'm Jared, and I hate games.
I hate everything.
This isn't Suikoden, so it sucks.
I don't care about nothing. Give me a Manny Calavera and them old games.
That's the Skeleton Man.
Oh, the Skeleton Man.
Manny Calavera. And the number 9 Express.
We're going back to NeoGAF for another piece of news, which I think is probably maybe the authentically the most interesting news of the week. This comes from Corpse Pyre, user Corpse Pyre at NeoGAF on a thread called Rumor X Sony Bend Dev talks about Siphon Filter new game and a ditched Uncharted.
Has there ever been a sentence with fewer real words than the one you just said? That was amazing.
No.
I mean, I understood what you meant.
Sony
but wow.
Bend Dev talks about Siphon Filter, new game, and a ditched Uncharted. This comes from Reddit, and apparently, I take all this with a grain of salt, but here's basically the background. A guy that claims to have worked at Bend for 8 years was on Reddit talking about Sony Bend. Sony Bend, of course, is like a strange obsession of mine. So I was obviously like very intrigued by this, but also it seemed to, if you believe that this guy really worked for Bend, and I personally think it is very believable, but of course it's invalidated, or not invalidated. Let's say unsubstantiated.
Yeah.
Here's what he says about a few topics on the Reddit thread, which was compiled at NeoGAF in a more readable form. On whether there will be a new Siphon Filter, he said, or she said, maybe it's a woman. No, don't hold your breath on that one. Source worked at Sony Bend for 8 years. John Garvin, who's the founder of the studio, got burned out on Siphon Filter. He wanted to make something different. People seem to like to ignore that Gabe Logan died at the end of Logan's Shadow, which is something Greg and I actually don't agree with. Garvin literally killed off the main character so he wouldn't have to make any more Siphon Filter games. Plus, despite all the praise, they didn't sell. Very low sales all around. Now, Greg, as you know, Logan's Shadow at the end, Gabe is shot.
It is. This is I'm with the developer. I understand what he or she is saying, but like it wasn't a conclusive. This is the end of the series. It was cliffhanger stuff so they could do another one.
Well, you always want to leave it over just in case you need to,
So for her to be, or for her, he to be all they're dead anyway. Like no. He gets shot. Leanne goes, Gabe, and it fades. It's credits.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like that's not. Oh, he's dead.
Right. Yeah, I think it's.
You can always wait. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say. I think at the very least the ending was inconclusive. But this is the first time we've heard anyone from Bend say that he's dead.
Yeah.
So internally, if we believe that he's from Bend,
purportedly from Bend.
So they at least internally think he's dead, and that's really all that matters. It's their series.
But you could always have that ambiguous ending, or the Star Trek II remake ending, where Kirk wakes up at the very end, like, oh wait, I'm not really dead. Never mind.
Well, I'm sure that was the idea if they want to do it again.
Exactly.
Same with what we talked about with the Infamous 2 ending.
He comes back as part cyborg.
Man, that ending was lame.
He also said on the new project, so the game they're working on now, I know what they're doing, but even if I don't work there anymore, I don't think it would be kosher to go running off my mouth. Hard to say if you should be excited. There's a group of super talented guys there and
hard to say
if you should be excited. There's a group of super talented guys there, and pretty much every project has been chaos till the last 6 months when they usually work super hard to pull it together. But there's a lot of burnout right now. Lots of talent has left over the last year, end quote. We know that they're working on a PS4 game. That was a big story last week, too. Although we've known that they've been working on a PS4 game forever, so I don't really know why that was such a big story to a lot of people.
Well, news is new. When we can repackage anything we wrote about at E3 last year, and it's suddenly news.
That's true.
Just because there's a lot of things you miss. Sure. That's why we're here.
Now, this is the most interesting thing of all to me.
Okay.
What we got?
On a nixed Uncharted and Infamous pitch, he said, or she said.
From here on out, we're saying he. It could be a she. We don't know.
Right. It was going to be another Uncharted game, but Naughty Dog was worried about franchise burnout with so many games coming out so close together, so they nixed it. We spent like a whole year dicking around with different ideas and pitches after that before I left the studio. We started it and threw away so many demos during that year. Sony really wanted another Uncharted from us and tried to convince Naughty Dog to let us do it. They wanted more content for Vita. And we did make an Infamous pitch at one point, too. I think that was the first pitch and demo we made after the Uncharted project was canned. The Infamous game would have been a Vita title, too. We did a couple new IP pitches. One was steampunk, but didn't make it very far. There was a really awesome futuristic sci-fi one that I really liked. We had an amazing future sci-fi city and a character that could run around and scale buildings with these jet boots, and it was awesome. We had a lot of assets done for that demo when it was canned. I was really bummed when that one got binned. I left the studio about 2 years ago, and that was when they were making the switch to Unreal 4 and PS4 instead of Vita. It was a bit of a waste since we put so much time and resources into making a Vita engine and then only used it on one title. But a couple other first-party studios used versions of our engine and we let them support, so it didn't really go to waste. I think Unit 13 from Zipper Interactive, written by
Dunham. What up, Jeremy
Beyond
Dunham?
founder Jeremy Dunham, used our engine. Don't remember who else did, though. I think the shift to PS4 was a desperate bid to get something greenlit. When you go through so many pitches and get one after another tossed out for various reasons, you start trying anything. I recall it was always upper management, demographic, genre situation kind of crap. Like someone is already making a game, something along those lines that would come out 5 months prior to your game date. Or we've had too many games of that sort and it didn't sell well enough, or projections for that kind of blah, blah, blah. Also, kind of complaints about Hollywood only making generic formula action hits because they make money rather than take a risk on something different that might not make money. Same thing exists in games, obviously. That's all he said about that. So what we learned about that, if this is true, is that they were going to make another Uncharted game, which is not surprising. What was surprising is that Naughty Dog has enough carte blanche within first-party studios to say, you're not making that game.
They were allowed to be like, no, that's going to get in our way. Like, that's going to screw up Uncharted 4.
Which is super interesting to me because if they did it right, they actually could have made a really interesting tie-in on Uncharted 4. So I'm a little disappointed in that. The bigger thing is that we've talked a long time about Infamous is right at home on Vita, and they were trying to make an Infamous game.
Why? Just let them make it. Come on.
So now they're working on something else for PS4, and we'll see that maybe soon.
The reboot of the Patapon universe.
Greg, we've talked about Elder Scrolls Online quite a bit.
You know, I'm excited for it. I was excited for it when I thought I had to pay a subscription fee.
And Brian Albert of IGN lets us know that Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited coming to Xbox One, PS4. So finally we have a release date for the promised console version of the Elder Scrolls Online.
Right.
Bethesda's MMO, The Elder Scrolls Online, according to the story, is coming to Xbox One and PS4 on June 9th with several updates, so during E3. Titled The Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited, the MMO includes everything from the original PC and Mac game, plus all the updates and content additions. It will not require a monthly subscription fee. So...
Have either of you guys actually played ESO?
I have.
No
Samuel writes in to beyond.ign.com and says, Beyond. And good day. Elder Scrolls Online coming to consoles with no subscription. This made it go from no chance of me buying it to my most anticipated game of the year.
Whoa.
I am a huge console Elder Scrolls fan, but I will never touch a subscription because I do not have enough dedicated gaming hours a week. Thank you, Bethesda. Regards, Samuel McBee. Now, you were going somewhere... I think negative with this.
I'm sorry. I'm a big grump today. I don't know what it... No, I played a lot of ESO when it was first released. And I haven't played it... To be fair, I haven't played it in months. But when I played it, I was dreadfully disappointed. Now, it is very pretty. It really is. But it is also kind of vapid and soulless. At least it was when I was playing it. And... when you don't have to pay a subscription fee, that's great. That changes a lot for you. But even then, there's too many good games to waste time playing bad ones.
Yep.
And when I played ESO, it was at best an exercise in tedium. The beginning was really interesting, but as time passed and you got farther along, you're just like, oh man, I am really, really getting tired of this. It was like. Sometimes we try to make that transition from a single-player game to a multiplayer game. Like when they try to do that with Ultima to Ultima Online in the beginning, it was just a complete mess. You run into some of those same kind of issues. But where on Ultima Online, their solution was to just say, well, then just do everything, and then we'll sort it out later. And at least it created a very interesting universe. ESO took the opposite kind of WoW track and narrowed things. And in the process of that narrowing in that big open world, something got lost. I hope I'm not being too nebulous about it, but I do feel like you have a big world that's beautiful and neat to look at, and there's not actually all that much that's interesting to do there.
Gotcha.
And that was my problem with ESO.
See, I had started playing and only hung in like an hour or two because I was on PC and I wasn't happy, and I was just like, I'll wait for consoles, not knowing it was going to be so far off.
Yeah.
And so I'm still excited to give it a shot and try it out and go, but it's interesting that you had problems, the longer you played.
It might have gotten better. But looking at the way they had designed it, I'm not sure they could make it all that much better because again it was just modern MMOs, with the exception of things like Eve or some of the smaller ones, tend to be very streamlined, and that frustrates me anyway. So maybe I'm just not an MMO guy, but ESO just after a while is like, man, this is just starting to feel like work. And
that's never fun. That's never good. No,
definitely not. Quick news from Luke Carmali, our friend over in the UK. Says Alien Isolation sales past 1 million mark. After 3 months, Sega has revealed Alien Isolation sales have passed the 1 million mark, according to the story from Luke. The figure, which covers games sold through to consumers rather than just shipped to retailers, marks a significant achievement for the survival horror title based on Ridley Scott's iconic film. So congratulations to them. That's fantastic. I still haven't played Alien Isolation. It's a game I need to get to eventually. The final piece of news...
Are you really going to get to that one, you think?
I like the Alien franchise, so yeah.
Yeah, but I heard that game just doesn't hold up.
Polarizing title. Just play the first 5 hours and then pretend you're
That's
done.
what everybody says, and that was the thing.
Play the first 5 hours and be. It's sort of like playing Ninja Gaiden, and like Chris Kohler says, you just play until you get to the castle. You see the castle in the distance, and you just stop because at that point it gets really, really hard and kind of frustrating. Aliens the same
You're talking
way.
about the NES one or the
original
Xbox
Ninja
one?
Gaiden.
Oh, so NES.
Ninja
Okay.
Gaiden.
Yeah.
You see the castle off in the distance, and the difficulty just goes up to the ceiling.
Oh, Ninja Gaiden is insane.
I enjoy that part. I really do. Old school Ninja Gaiden right there.
Oh, I'll always say it like that.
I said it like that until I saw the guy go Ninja Gaiden in The Wizard, and then I was like, I'm saying it wrong.
I'm wrong.
But my whole life,
I mean, that was the first indication that I was saying it wrong. But it's just it's like Ryu and all that. We've talked about that before. It's
Right,
like
totally.
it always been Ninja Gaiden. That's one of the games where and what Greg and I are doing now, where like I want Greg to play that game. That game is really hard. You know, like it was because we were doing stuff with Mega Man 2, which is I think a really easy game compared to a lot of the games that I like, and. I think Castlevania is gonna. I want to do the original Castlevania with him.
Okay.
I want to do Castlevania 3 eventually, but that game's gonna eat him alive.
That's just. Are you gonna give him the Japanese version at least, so he can have Grant's daggers? That at least makes it fair.
And then I want to do Ninja Gaiden because that game actually is comically hard.
When he gets to 6-1, I just can't wait to see what happens because it's like, oh, this isn't so hard, and you're like, oh, I see why people say it's hard, and you get to 5 and you're just like, bird, and once you get to 6-1, it's just. That what the trick they pull there is.
Like, are you talking about when you have to jump and actually get hit by the bird in the air?
No, I'm talking about how they changed the rules on the last stages, and suddenly, even if you get to the final stage of the boss fight, of the 3-stage boss fight, with no recoveries in between the stages, if you die, it warps you not back to 6-3, not back to the beginning of the box, but all the way back to that death gauntlet at the beginning of 6-1.
It's awesome.
And
it's
you have to go all
awesome.
the way through
I love
again.
it. I love it. I love how hard that game is. Impossibly hard. I actually beaten that game.
Yeah.
Now, but I mean that game takes a lot of patience. So I'm gonna throw that one at Greg one day because
Sounds fun.
It is
Ninja,
a fun
Ninja
game.
Game's
It's a great
game.
It really
But there's
is.
my brother always compared always talked about that game and being like that game is comically hard.
Yeah.
Like it's not. It's like you actually start laughing at it because Castlevania 3 does the same thing where if you die late in the game it knocks you back.
Yeah.
I don't know why they because you get certain parts in the stage, you just get back to the original, the beginning of the stage. If you go to the boss or whatever, there's parts of certain games where it's like no,
kid gloves are coming off now.
Go f yourself.
Sorry.
We're gonna.
I have
kick you back.
never beaten all 3 boss forms. I've never finished Ninja
The
Gaiden.
last time I did it was I want to say when we were doing the top 100 NES games when I first started working here.
Okay.
The Ninja Gaiden games get easier. They're all of them are good.
Yeah.
Really, really good games. I'm actually surprised that they're hard to find. Like you don't really see them re-released anywhere. It would be cool for them to those are tech. Yeah, they're there. But I mean, why not proliferate them a little bit more? Like Tecmo exists still, and
well, there was that terrible repackaging of all 3 for the
on
Super
SNES,
Nintendo.
yeah.
And Ninja Gaiden 3, while it's not as hard as the others in terms of the gameplay, the American version screwed up because you only have the 5 continues. That's kind of jerky. So play the Japanese version of that one if you can. But wow, esoteric NES talk with.
I'll do it all day.
Yeah, I will too. I love this stuff. But yeah, great game.
Oh yeah, awesome. Really moody. Just a quick aside about Ninja Gaiden 2. That game used to scare the living daylights out of me.
Ninja Gaiden 2?
No, the first one.
Oh, the first. Which part?
Just all the cutscenes when you'd see what the hell's the bad guy's name? Why can't I remember?
Jacquio?
Yeah, Jacquio.
Yeah.
Where
Jacquio.
they show you see him for the first time and stuff like that, and it's like I'm like this game is horrifying.
Yeah.
Like the cutscenes, that game really was telling a story. It was really very much ahead of its time in that sense.
Oh, that opening cutscene. I mean, they rip it off
when
the
they
Scott
jump,
Pilgrim
when they
comic,
jump, yeah.
and it's so great. But yeah, I would sit every time and just watch that intro with the 2 ninja in the field running at each other. It's this really cool early cutscene on an NES. It's have you seen it, Greg?
No.
Oh,
Well, maybe, but I don't.
Yeah, we're gonna rock that game, Greg.
Yeah, that game.
That's a great game.
That it is. It's just wonderful.
It's just got so much. It's informed by a lot of stuff.
It is, and you mentioned Castlevania. I mean, granted, the feel of the games is completely different. Castlevania is very slow, deliberate. You have almost no control. Whereupon Ryu, you can control, almost your heart's content.
Yeah, you can move them in the air.
But there's a lot there. You're still hitting, candles and birds.
Yeah, some
weapons
weapons
drop out of them.
Yeah.
You've got the same kind of life bar system. You've got it's and the thing where if you just let an enemy scroll off the screen slightly, if you stack birds by accident, if you get 2 birds on the screen at once.
Yeah, what he's talking about, by the way, to anyone out there that's uninitiated with Ninja Gaiden, is that there are bird enemies in the game that are the most obnoxious thing you've ever seen in your entire life. Yeah. They just fly at you, and there are parts of the game where I think it's the first one, but it might be the second or third one where there is a jump in the game that is helped by getting hit intentionally by them.
Yeah, I mean you don't have to do it, but it makes it a lot easier if
it's
you let the bird
so
hit you.
weird. It's so weird.
What's in Mario World where you have to kill Yoshi to get that one? Isn't it one of the stars?
Where you have to jump off his back?
Yeah, you have to let Yoshi fall in a pit and die and murder him.
He had it coming.
So there's a lot of. By the way, I applaud the fact that you say Ninja Gaiden, and with the other things, Ryu and the rest of that. I lived in Japan for a long time, and I really do feel like when you're back in the States, if you really run the danger if you try to use Japanese pronunciations for everything of sounding like Ross Geller on Friends. Just being like karate. Well, first off, that's not how you say it in Japanese either, but it's really funny. Yeah, so I'm not gonna walk and go, let's go sing karaoke in Berkeley. We're going to say karaoke, or we're talking about suikoden. It's more like suikoden.
I always say suikoden when I was a kid.
Yeah, suikoden. And the Japanese don't really have that high enunciation, so even that's a little hard. But yeah, suikoden's fine. Just say it that way. Just say what people understand what you're talking about.
Well, I always
sound like a jerk.
I always get mad because one of the words I always say niche, and a lot of people say niche.
Oh, okay.
And that always bothers me because it's a French word. It's niche, and I'm like, okay, let's go through all the French words in the English language and see how we say them, and then how the French say them. Let's see how this argument stacks up for literally 5 seconds before it falls apart. That's the kind of thing I hate. It's like we Americanize words just like other countries take our words and do what they do with it too. That's just the way it goes.
Lafayette or Lafitte, Louis or Louis, that kind of thing. And then you get it mixed up where you have the words that are amalgamations. Things like you traveled recently to Kentucky, so you went to
Louisville.
Louisville. There you go. That's pretty good. All right. Louisville.
I lost the Louisville. Louisville is what I say now. Louisville.
That's close.
I'm going back.
So that was a really long category, and I don't even remember how we got there.
Doesn't matter.
Final story. PSN class action settlement. Do you qualify? By Seth Macy on IGN. You may be entitled to a free game or other compensation. I feel like I'm doing one of those lawyer commercials.
Yeah. I'm Peter Francis Geraci. Have you or someone you know been diagnosed with mesothelioma?
Yeah, mesothelioma is like the obsession.
Where do you know Peter Francis Geraci from?
He's out here too. But in Chicago, his commercials ran too.
Wait, they ran in Florida when I lived there. I thought he was local.
I'm sure he has.
No. We had a prof in college. He was an undergraduate Bible professor. He looked just like Peter Francis Geraci. It was kind of creepy.
You're watching Maury, you're watching TMZ, you're getting some Peter Francis Geraci up in this piece.
I was just thinking about that. You guys had Jim Sokolov?
Yeah, that sounds
That was the guy I remember when I was a kid. Like, I'm Jim Sokolov. It's like, Jesus, where are all these guys coming from? Law school, I guess. The story reads, if you were affected by the PlayStation Network outage of 2011, which is a tragic time indeed.
We remember it well.
You may qualify for benefits agreed upon in a class action. That's still one of the great episodes of podcast.
Hey, Kelly, you
communications
sound
disruption
sweet.
can mean only one thing.
You may qualify for benefits agreed upon in the class action lawsuit against certain quote-unquote Sony entities. The class in this case includes anyone in the U.S. and its territories who have had a PSN account, a Cryosity account, or an SOE account.
Corosity.
Huh?
Corosity.
Cryosity.
Corosity.
QR.
No, it was an offshoot of Core.
It's a terrible name, and I don't think it exists anymore anyway.
During
any time before May 15, 2011. If you were an account holder of one of the qualifying Sony entities during the time period specified, you may be entitled to a certain benefits from the suit. The benefits include a free PS3 or PSP game, 3 free themes, or 3 months of PlayStation Plus membership. Anyone who suffered identity theft from the incident that led to out-of-pocket expenses can submit supporting documentation to claim reimbursement of up to $2,500. The great PSN outage of 2011, which I think we coined, was almost a solid month of PSN being offline, the result of the attack of the system that resulted in the compromise of sensitive consumer data. Blah, 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 blah. That was a really crappy time, but it gave us one of the great episodes of Podcast Beyond.
Yep.
You've been Kudaragi'd.
So that's it.
Okay. A lot of you got to jump through a lot of hoops. You got to print off documents. You got to write down and get like pat upon. No, you're good.
No, I think you're all right. Just
let
it go.
I would love to know the stats of how many people are going to send.
It was almost 4 years ago. It's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, all right.
It seems like it was just yesterday when I was crying over it.
Jared.
Pregnant pause. Yay.
But it gave birth to a question.
It did. A lot of great games are coming out this year. You got that Witcher thing we talked about. You got that Uncharted 4. But I want to know what games are coming out this week. Where would I go?
I believe that you would head to Texas, look up Andrew Goldfarb, and ask Andrew Goldfarb to give you the memorial list of upcoming this, that, and the other, something or other kind of games coming to PlayStation and the Vita and all the other platforms. And they said the PlayStation television thing and all the rest of that. Maybe the PS1, possibly.
What do you got,
FCA,
Colin?
Whatever.
Dying Light's finally out for PS4 digitally and at retail.
I am enjoying it.
Dying Light is a first-person action survival game set in a vast open world. Roma City devastated by a mysterious epidemic. Scavenging for supplies and crafting weapons to help defeat the hordes of flesh-hungry enemies the plague has created. Sounds very original.
You were beating that dude in the head with that bar.
At night, beware the infected as they grow in strength. Live to survive another day. I've never heard of a game like this.
Yeah.
And I'm actually authentically excited to play it. It looks good.
Yeah, it was fun today.
Finally, Grim Fandango Remastered comes to PS4 and Vita. Earlier, I said it came to PS3 too. That is not true. It's on PS4 and Vita only. I'm surprised that it's not on PS3, but it's on Vita though.
It's coming to PC, I think, tomorrow.
Yeah, they just wouldn't talk about that here.
Yeah, I know. I'm just being a jerk.
Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 2 Sisters Generation comes to Vita digitally and at retail. If your princess is a self-referential, fourth-wall-breaking RPG that skewers both the game industry and gamers in equal measure, then Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 2 is your castle. You'll fight in free-roaming battles as characters known as CPU candidates, the younger sisters of CPUs who watch over nations. Using over-the-top attacks, powerful transformations, and more, these candidates will have to step into the spotlight to save their sisters and the world of game industry.
Oh.
This sounds like an Evangelion episode.
Hyperdimension is weird because it's just a reference of the console wars.
Right.
Life is Strange Episode 1 finally comes out on PS4 and PS3. Digital launches on Friday though. Not with the other games. Yeah.
Say what?
Life is Strange is a 5-part episodic series that sets out to revolutionize story-based choice and consequence games by allowing the player to rewind time and affect the past, present, and future. You are Max, a photography senior who saves her old friend Chloe by discovering she can rewind time. The pair soon find themselves exposed to the darker side of Arcadia Bay as they uncover the disturbing truth behind the sudden disappearance of a fellow student.
There we go.
I'm stoked. It sounds cool. I've never played it. Marty did a preview of it. Said it was it's okay to be excited for this. I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
Nihil Umbra comes to Vita, and Tesla Grad was supposed to come to PS4 and PS3. I think it's already on Vita, but it's crossed out and says that it's coming out later.
Two things to go with this year list. Two topics I want to ask you guys about. First, talking about Neptunia. Did either of you guys ever play Sega Gaga? No.
What is it?
Sega Gaga. Sega Gaga, like Sega Gaga.
No.
I said this was a Dreamcast game that was released in Japan. People have been fooling around with a fan patch forever. I don't think I ever finished it, but it is the closest thing to Neptunia I've ever actually see somebody do. It was right when Sega was on the death throes of their console time, and they created an RPG about the console wars, about losing the console wars, really, in a dark future where the market is dominated by an evil Nintendo-esque entity, and Sega is the last valiant hope for true gamers.
That's cool.
And they hire 2 children to transform the company, and it's sort of like a Dragon Quest-ish RPG where you wander around Sega headquarters having random encounters with programmers and like beating them up to like get them to work harder. And Alex Kidd like works in the lunchroom.
That's cool.
It is ridiculous. If you can find this thing, at least find footage of it. Look around. If you're in Akihabara
Samba
next year,
de Amigo there.
It's usually cheap.
I'm looking at screenshots of it now, and it says it's a Sega Gaga storyline parodies a commercially unsuccessful Dreamcast console. The player is recruited by Sega in a last-ditch effort to stop the evil Dogma company from taking over the console market.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Even if you don't speak any Japanese, use a guide, play around with it. It's a lot of fun just to see that it's really colorful, neat little game. Other part, can we just talk a little more about Grim Fandango and how great it is, and the fact that everybody in the whole wide universe should at least take a look at this?
This is interesting. It says this is from Wikipedia.
Now you got him on Sega Gaga.
It said set in the year 2025. The story depicts Sega with only a 3% share of the market. In Oda, Tokyo, the city in which Sega was established in 1951, the company forms Project Sega Gaga, a plan to save Sega from its main competitor, the evil Dogma, a parody of Sony, Sega's biggest competitor at the time. A part of Project Sega Gaga, Sega takes 2 teenagers and employ them to guide Sega to the top of the market. The game features cameo appearances from Sega characters past and present, such as Alex Kidd and Sonic the Hedgehog. The game also references things associated with Sony's PlayStation and PlayStation 2, and there is a strange cameo appearance from Ralph Macchio.
Yep.
Macchio, I guess it is, from Karate Kid fame, who in various mecha forms can be fought in one of the R&D departments and persuaded to join your team.
I forgot to mention that.
That is awesome.
Yeah, fighting Ralph
Localize
Macchio,
this.
Also
Hashtag building list.
There's also this amazing intro where the big guys with the hammers from Golden Axe.
Yeah.
For some reason, they just rise out of a building in the middle of Tokyo, and they're like 100 feet tall for no reason.
That happens in real life.
Just great.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
That's it.
Colin.
Yes.
Would you like a spirited rant from Ed?
Sure.
Ed writes in and says, Dear Greg, Colin in the ever-rotating third chair. As I understand it, the 10% off on PSN over the weekend was Sony's way of making it up to players for their horrendous service at Christmas. Cram it up your ass, Sony. Why would I now spend £50 instead of £55 FIFA, Far Cry, COD on the PSN store when I can get the same game in physical form, non-reliant on your faulty network for around half the price? If Sony really were sorry, they'd send every PSN some kind of code that would let users go into a GameStop and get a free single-player game that has no real need for PSN, Metro, Sleeping Dogs, Shadow of Mordor, etc. Giving gamers the chance to spend a little bit less on expensive games is not an apology. It's a marketing ploy. Rant over Ed.
All right. Well, the rant had this.
P.S. For the record, I generally like what Sony do.
All right. So, Ed, good rant. But first off, you're going to start your rant with mentioning pounds, which reveals you're from Britain. Then immediately go to the soccer game. You're not helping the stereotype. So, going from pounds to FIFA, that hurt a little bit. But what do you think of his point?
I mean, they gave the 5 extra days, too, of PlayStation Plus, right?
Yeah, which is also funny.
Well, yeah, but
the
it's
10%,
like...
10% off is nice. It's just that you can't do it to pre-order or anything. You can't use the
that
pre-order.
was the part that I'm really mad about.
Even
yeah,
though they acted
it
originally like you would be able to, they implicitly said it, and then they actually literally crossed it out of their letter. Mm-hmm. At least they didn't just delete it like it was never there to be.
Yeah. You're crazy. That was never there.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
It's just like a little Sharpie on your screen.
The PlayStation Plus for 5 days thing is really funny, though. It's like, oh, thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
I mean, it's kind of congruent with what you lost, right? It's
sure,
it's comparable
but
with what you lost.
It shouldn't always be, necessarily congruent with what you lost. It should make up for what you lost.
Sure.
You know?
Well, they gave you that and the 10% off.
I don't know. It is what it is. I bought a few things with the 10% off, so I was happy. Oh, my computer's dying.
You need the power. Hoverboards don't work on water unless you got power. Colin.
Yes.
Actually, I'll give it to Jared because I already know what you'd answer.
Okay.
All right.
Jared, final question of the week.
Uh-oh. Okay.
PS TV, Shovel Knight, Hearthstone,
Shovel Knight,
PS4 Slim, The Order.
Yeah, we always go Shovel Knight in these cases.
Colby Stevens writes in and says, Beyond.
Beyond.
To Colin, Greg, and probably Marty. Swing and a miss.
Well, he did his best.
I just got a Vita a few weeks ago, and I am loving it so much. I just picked up Guacamelee and Freedom Wars by combining the Indie Flash sale and the 10% off code. The other games I have are PS Plus free indies that I love. To my question, when do you guys think Shovel Knight is coming to Vita? I never did play it on my Wii U since I knew I'd be getting a Vita and wanted to give it a go. Colin made a comment that it may be coming out in February, but I was just wondering if you guys had more information. Thanks for everything you do. Colby Stevens, sent from my iPhone.
I don't have any on or off the record information about this, but I think that it's going to come out in February.
Why?
They were implying that it's going to be very early in the year. I don't. It may be March at the latest. I played the game at PSX on Vita and PS4. The games are in great shape. Like I think that they just have to, go through the the cert process or whatever, and then get the
rigmarole.
I mean, they ported them over pretty quickly, from what I understand. So, I would be surprised if it's not February, and if it's not February, it's got to be March.
I'm going to say February because I asked my copy of Taboo: The Sixth Sense this very question last week, and it said February.
Okay, great.
Yeah, there you go. February it looks like, ladies and gentlemen. Get
Perfect.
Something special for your Valentine right there. Shovel Knight.
Yeah, that's the gift that keeps on giving.
That's true. Colin.
Yes.
We've talked about the fact that we don't work here anymore.
Correct.
And that the podcast may change when we leave. Who knows what'll stick around.
Correct.
That said, maybe we're in the final days of our new favorite segment, the worst PlayStation Network name of the week. Of course, you can't change your PlayStation Network name. This started with you begging Shuhei Yoshida to allow us to change our network names. People started writing in with the names they regretted, and now it's become people are playing games, find people that
There's just a lot of regret out there.
I don't even think some of these people regret. The person whose name I'm about to read doesn't regret this name because this is a great name.
Hit me.
Hi, my name is Angelou, and I couldn't believe the PlayStation name I saw. It shocked me and everyone else. I was in a party with my friends when all of a sudden, my wet vibrator joined. Everyone was laughing, and we all took pictures. I don't know how this name got past Shuhei Yoshida. Please let us change our names. To be clear, I don't think Shuhei's rubber stamping every name that
I
comes
don't
through.
think that he just sits there when a name's made, and he's like, I'll allow it.
He's like, yeah, he looks, he's like...
It's like Santa Claus. He's just got this big, long scroll, and he's with a big pen and just kind of scratching through and checking one off.
He's smoking his pipe, checking off.
Sits there and does that.
My wet vibrator.
All one word. Oh, again, none of those words are bad. Really doesn't...
Yeah.
What? It's a wet vibrator.
What are you going to do
It's
about it?
a dry computer. Just calling things. You can't get mad about that.
Things are what they are.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for Podcast Beyond, episode 379. Remember, Podcast Beyond is a product of ign.com and goes live each and every Tuesday as a video and an MP3. You can get it at ign.com, youtube.com/IGN, the PlayStation 4 IGN app, and, of course, podcast services around the world.
Nay, the very universe.
Oh, my Lord. If you want to keep up with Colin and I on our new adventure, he's No Taxation. I'm Game Over Greggy. If you want to keep up with IGN, IGN's IGN. Jared Petty still works here.
I do.
His Twitter handle is Petty, Jared.
Gainful employment. Woohoo!
It's always a pleasure having you, Jared.
It is always a pleasure.
We miss you.
Thank you very much for inviting me in.
No problem.
I love being here with you guys. I miss y'all.
We miss you. You know that.
It's lonely in the morning.
No, it isn't. You got Pear probably.
Oh, yeah. There's lots of wonderful people
Okay, good.
here.
Okay.
It's a great place to work, and I really enjoy getting to know some of the new guys, too. But I do miss y'all.
Oh, we love you.
So, yeah. But I also really happy for y'all and what you're doing.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you.
Every episode of Podcast Beyond ends in a song in a segment we call Ryan's Wrap Up. Today's comes from Matt Desend. Beyond.
Beyond.
Fine,
Beyond.
fellows. My name is Matt Desend. Desend sounds like Desend. He spelled it out. Thank you for taking the time to read my email. Podcast Beyond is the #1 reason I have a PlayStation. I love my Vita, and I really enjoyed my PlayStation 4. He enjoyed, like he shot it or something.
Well, maybe
I started to work.
now.
it left him.
I started working on becoming a video game composer. My first song was released last year for a small game called Toss and Go on the Wii U eShop.
Toss and go, huh?
Yeah, Toss and Go on the
Yeah,
Wii
go
U
play
eShop. Okay. This year, however, I will be releasing a full 11-song soundtrack for the upcoming game Tiny Galaxy, coming out this year on Wii U eShop. I would be forever grateful if you would play a song from this soundtrack and let listeners know they can find me on Twitter at @onlymattdesind, DESIND. While I'm sad that your run on this great show is ending soon, I know whoever takes over will do a great job, but you will be missed. Thank you for that. Thank you for all the fun and showing me the PlayStation way beyond. Ladies and gentlemen.
Why don't you go ask NVC to play your song, buddy?
Hey, why you got to diss him?
Why you gotta do that? Why you
Why you gotta be a
He's a PlayStation guy.
Let's just talk about Ninja Gaiden. That'll make him happy.
Yeah, I know, right? Go back to our retrospective on NES game. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Matt's song from the upcoming game Tiny Galaxy. You, of course, can go buy Toss and Go right now in the Wii U shop. Beyond.
Beyond.
Beyond.